Hi, it's France. Welcome back again. I'm starting today's page with masking tape on the spine of my book because I want to be working with a lot of black today. Not because I'm depressed, but because last weekend has been one emotional roller coaster. And well, I wanted to contrast that with black on my page. And I don't want the black to go all the way through my book, so I'm adding a bit of masking tape. On top of it, a layer of gesso. Just a quick one. And as I have this thing on my table, which is soft cardboard, I'm just wiping my brush on it. I don't want to clean it before I go to the next layer, which is a layer of absorbent ground, because I want to work with dilutions and glimmer mist. And as I don't really like the effect on the gesso, I'm adding my layer of absorbent ground, which will allow the colors to sink into the paper. Again, I'm not being very careful about putting it everywhere or in a very regular layer, just a bit here and there, and that's it. It's dry-ish, and you will see why I'm saying that in a couple of minutes. Adding water and black dilutions, drying it halfway through, and then that's when you see my gesso and my absorbent ground was dry-ish, but I absolutely love the effect. I didn't do it on purpose, it was an accident, but I absolutely love it. You can see it on the video, but it's a lot of texture underneath. And I'm adding glimmer mist because the dilutions would be too black. I want to keep that texture visible. And as it's still not dry, I'm thinking, why not pick up a bit more of the gesso and the absorbent ground. Look at that. Looks again like an old wall that is very distressed. Like I said, I want to play with black today, so I'm going in with black gesso on top of this Julie Pfeifenbalzer stencil. Just putting a bit here and there, and I'm using a makeup sponge to do it because they're very soft. The black gesso is quite liquid, so I don't want it to go all the way underneath the stencil. As these two words have been a very important part of my weekend, I just had to use them. Not because I have to let go of something, but just because we're organizing an art journal retreat and the title is Let Go. So I really wanted to use those words on my page. Now I'm gluing some chipboard alphabet on an old textbook page. And I'm using Bindex to do so because the Bindex can be laid on very thin and very regular, and I don't want any bubbles or anything underneath the paper. Bindex really is an all-round product. You can do so much with it. You can use it as a top coat, you can use it as a glue. It's very versatile. Now, as I didn't work very carefully, I had Bindex all over the edges of my letters, and as I want my letters to be neat in the end, I took away the Bindex on the edges of the letters. Then I'm just ripping the excess paper away carefully because I want the paper to stay on the letter, and the glue isn't dry yet, so I have to work carefully. And then with a piece of sanding paper, I'm cleaning up the edges and doing the same with every letter. This is actually a good way to make any alphabet you have more interesting than it might be if you don't, if it's too dull, if you don't like it, well, you can tune it up a bit. Adding a bit of distress ink to make the paper even older, as if it wasn't old enough yet. I'm also adding distress ink on the edges of the chipboard as it's quite thick. I don't want the chipboard to be visible. These are cutouts made from watercolor paper with a Tim Holtz Flourish dye, which I'm colorizing with dilutions. Drying just quickly, because the paper is quite thin, so it dries really fast. And then I can add some distress ink on the edges. It will tone down the colors just a bit, and it will take away the white from the paper on the edges. Now this is what I will be using to embellish my letters even more. So I'm just taking very small pieces, I'm gluing it down, and now I'm cutting away everything so that it fits the paper. So if you have, if the paper didn't stay well where it should have stayed, this is a good way to hide little imperfections. And it will make your dull chipboard letters even more interesting. Now I'm going back in with the distress ink because where the paper was cut, you can see the white again, and I don't want that to be visible. I'm adding some splatters of water. As I've been working with Glimmer mist and dilutions, those will both react again with the water, while the chevron stay in place because it's gesso. It won't react to the water, so it allows me to add a more distressed look to the black in the background without moving the chevron. Now I'm stamping a Stamp Boutique stamp with some Archival ink. And you can see I'm using a cloth to wipe the stamp a bit because I don't want it to be too neat. And I'm also using a mat underneath the left page because my book is getting a bit wonky. And it makes it easier to stamp. This is a Tethered Angel embellishment that has been laying around here for ages. It's made of crepe paper and it really reacts in a fun way with the Glimmer mist. As you can see, it moves around and you can manipulate it in a very easy way. So I'm folding it in half and then I can attach it with my tiny attacher on the page of my art journal. This art journal is getting quite some volume to it. I'm very curious to see where it will all end, because it is a moleskin sketchbook, so I don't have... It's not extendable to infinity, so we'll see in the future. So I'm gluing down my chipboard letters just with some tacky glue. Then I can accentuate the flourishes even more using some Glimmer glaze. This one is translucent, so it will just add a shine and a bit of volume to it. Now the fun thing with Glimmer glaze is that it exists in all the Glimmer Mist colors. So this one is the pewter, which is a darker color, but it's still translucent, so I can still see the colors underneath. But I wanted to take them down a notch because they were contrasting a bit too much with the black, in my opinion. You have to leave it dry though. You shouldn't dry it with a heat gun because it makes bubbles. This is acrylic ink, and I'm using this acrylic ink because if I would be using water-based white ink, it would pick up the black from the Glimmer Mist and the dilutions, and I wanted the white to stay white on top of it. And then I'm adding a border with black Sennelier oil pastel. I'm wiping the excess away to avoid to have black fingers every time I go through my book, because it is an oil pastel, and if I don't use any fixative, it won't, well, it will still rub off. And I don't want to use fixative because of my dilutions and my Glimmer Mist. I don't want it to move. Now the chipboard letters were a bit two-dimensional to my taste, to my liking, so I took them back off and took some layers away. And then just gluing them back in place, so it's not even visible. I took them back off to put them back in place afterwards. You can see by the lighting, we changed time of day. It was night when I continued. And that was after the Let Go meeting of this weekend. If you want to know what the Let Go is, check out my blog. There is a page talking about the Let Go, telling you everything you'd like to know about it. And if you'd like to come, I'd love to meet you there. I'm using one of my new stamps, which is Cityscape by Stampatique, on white paper. Stamping it with Memento ink, because again I want to use my Copic markers and my Pro markers to colorize it. I'm going again with all kind of gray shades. Like I said, I want to make a dark page today. Well, not actually dark, but I don't want any crazy colors. I already have enough crazy around. Happy crazy it is. And I'm not using the complete stamp because I want it to fit on one side of my art journal. I'm using the translucent Copic markers to clean up a bit of gray that went outside the edge, so that it's white just like the rest of the edges. And I'm also cutting away a little piece of the base because it was too white. Again, change of light. That was in the morning. I'm going in with some white Sennelier oil pastel this time because the brown of the paper was too brown this time, and I wanted to take it down and to make it work with the rest of the page. So I'm colorizing it with a bit of white, and I don't have to worry if the white oil pastel goes on my flourishes because I can just wipe it away. The Glimmer glaze will act as a resist to the oil pastel. As you can see, my flourish is white, and then I can wipe it away. Doing the same with the Graphic 45 butterfly sticker. This is a Posca pen, which is a paint pen, and the fun thing with this is that it will work on any surface. So even if I have been colorizing with oil pastel, I can go over it with a Posca pen, which I couldn't do if I was using Uniball Signo, for example. Even more white. And then adding some Posca pen around the letters to make them pop a bit more. Once again, I'm going back in with my white oil pastel and blending in the letters even more by adding a white edge to it. I hope you liked today's video. See you back next time. Have a happy week. Ta-da!